I'm Andy Andreason, Washington County Extension Director in Chipley, Florida. That's in Washington County in the Florida Panhandle. I've been involved in the cattle industry for some 50 years and have worked with forage producers and cattlemen in extension for the last 27 years. And before that, having experience as an ag teacher and cattle owner myself. So I have a lot of interest in the trees and the forages for the cattle in this part of the country because it's part of my heritage and I've been around it all my life. The cattle operations in the Tri-States area here in the Panhandle of Florida, South Alabama, Southwest Georgia consist of herds that are range usually from 25 to 40, 50 head of brood cows. However, we do have operations, say 20% of them, that'll range in 100 to 300 head of brood cows, and a few are larger operations at 3 to 5,000 head of cattle in those commercial operations. Typically, it's a cow-calf operation. We do have some stocker producers and a couple of small feedlots, but not many. Most everything is geared toward the cow-calf and stocker operator. Crimson clover is one of the more popular clovers that are used here in Florida, especially on our sandier soils or well-drained sites. It has a tremendous advantage in that it'll produce about 90 pounds of N per year. And of course, with the price of ammonium nitrate being $550 a ton right now, if you can salvage that kind of benefit, then certainly that's an economical value to most any producer. One of the things that seems to be a good opportunity for most people is that if they'll have clover in their Bahia grass and take care of it with their fertilization, which doesn't require nitrogen, just phosphorus and potash and a few minor elements, then the clover will take care of the Bahia grass. It's going to produce the nitrogen, and what residual potash and phosphorus there should be adequate to keep your Bahia in good production, and you should be able to get some good utilization and pasture from the benefit of the clover, as well as the fertilization and care of the clover as a residual to the Bahia. One of the things that helps as far as success in production of clover is to make sure your pH is in the 6 to 6.5 range. Most of these clovers like a more neutral type pH that's buffered well, and of course calcium and magnesium are important nutrients. So liming your fields appropriately after a good soil test will certainly enhance your success in producing clover. If you go to the trouble and expense to put the seed out, you certainly want it to be successful. Clover is not only high in protein, but it is a forage that is high in estrogen that helps get our cattle cycling in the spring. Naturally, cattle that need to be on a positive energy balance and gaining weight to come into heat, but you get an added benefit from the estrogen of the clover, getting the cattle kicked off to cycling in the spring, and so that allows you to get those cattle bred before the temperature gets hot and you have other issues there as heat stress that interferes with your breeding. So it definitely can get you in a position to get the cattle bred early, and therefore you're going to have larger calves the following year at weaning. You're also going to have those cattle have early calves because they're going to breed early in the breeding season. One of the benefits of Silvopasture is the fact that, as we mentioned earlier about the distribution of manure and urine, that benefits not only the forages but also the trees. But by having those nutrients available where their forage harvests a lot of those nutrients, and then the trees harvest with the deeper roots that reach out underneath the forages, you don't have near the leaching of nutrients like phosphorus and nitrogen that becomes an issue in many locations. especially in a pasture where you have maybe one central shade that all the animals congregate to get cool in the hot summer months. And first things that cattle do when after they've congregated and laid around like that, they stretch and they urinate, defecate, and then concentrate all those nutrients under that one location. Those nutrients then are not distributed over the whole pasture, but are in one little corner, which make them more available for the tree, but also make them available to leaching from that high concentration with a heavy rain. We also, if you have your water more in a central location rather than over in the corner of a field, you don't have near the trailing and compaction or erosion from cattle trails throughout your property that you would in a open pasture situation where cattle have a water trough in one corner of the field. So all those become issues on conservation and good water and soil management where you can utilize and get the benefit of both.